It's your boy, wavywebsurf here. What's up, guys? So it's that day of the year known as 420 where everyone around the world is just blazing up and getting super woke. And you know, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not participating. wavywebsurf doesn't smoke. Many of you that have stuck around with me before may remember my I am not stoned video that I made in response to Tommy C calling me a stoner because of my tapestry, dude, and my lava lamps in my rock. I'm not. I really am not. But, you know, I used to be. But today I want to talk to you guys heart to heart and give you an anecdotal tale of how it got to this point. How wavywebsurf was once a massive stoner, but is now cold sober. Well, with the exception of a little alcohol. So imagine me, a 17-year-old kid in high school, looking for any possible outlet to gain and garner more clout, to raise in the hierarchy levels of the high school social system. Any way possible. So being your average band kid in high school who also occasionally endeavored in smoking a little bit of ganja, well, I mean, by a little bit I mean like probably every day at this point, I was hanging around a bunch of people who were basically complete degenerates and didn't have any sort of plans or future going for themselves. I mean, I would kind of just associate with these folks in a good Kid Mad City Kendrick Lamar way. Like, I knew something about it was wrong, but everything around me was so bad that I just sort of participated in it. And not saying that smoking weed is bad or anything, but these types of people were also selling and sort of flipping pot for money. Well, needless to say, this was something I also tried for a little bit. Yes, you heard it first here. wavywebsurf was at one point a trap lord. Not really though. By trap lord, I may have possibly bought and sold marijuana several times for a small profit, but it's nowhere near a Pablo Escobar level. So with this established, I want to introduce you to the person that I will just call Billy. Billy was a guy that I hung out with a lot and also was in the endeavor of selling marijuana at a higher price in which he purchased it. You know, flipping that pack. This is what me and Billy like to do for fun for a good few months. You know, we would team up and sort of split the supply between us and go our own ways. Then we would rendezvous with the profits, put the money together, and buy another pack. Yes, wavywebsurf was a criminal at one point. And so as the months go by, I become more and more entangled in this web of flipping ganja. And this web is deep, you know, almost spider-like in a sense. And this was one of the ways that we felt was just giving us so much clout. Like, we had people texting us all the time asking us to re-up and sort of, you know, get their buzz going with some of that ganja, reefer, whatever you want to call it. We felt like we were kind of popping in a sense just because we had the bud. But eventually the high from flipping the packs of that green goblin wore off, and we thought that we needed to do something a little cooler to, you know, get a few XPs in our clout category. So one day I was chilling at home, you know, being 17 years old at my mom's house, and I get a phone call from Billy. He says, "Hey man, you need to come down the street right now. I gotta show you something super crazy, and you're gonna like basically shit yourself when you see this." So I'm like, hell yeah. Billy lives right down the road within walking distance. So I went over there to see what Billy had. Now, Billy wasn't showing me the new Black Ops Zombie map or the new Battlefield game or, you know, the new Super Smash Brothers game that came out. No, when I arrived at Billy's house, went up to his room, he proceeded to open up this large plastic container filled with like these little popcorn packing, you know, materials. And inside that box was a modded semi-automatic AK-47. Now at first I was like, Billy, bro, what the hell are you thinking, man? This is not a good look. But I put two and two together. I was like, wait, selling ganja, AK-47. This is like a clout cocktail that I've never seen. So after, you know, sort of taking in that we have an AK-47 in the possession of me and Billy, so what do you think the first thing that we decided to do is? Just kind of keep it hidden around the house somewhere? No, that's not gonna happen at 17. We decide to go over to one of our buddies' houses, who also has several friends at his house at the time, and show off to these guys. Like, we want to just kind of, you know, show the gun that we got. Hey man, we got this AK. You care if we come through? Oh bro, I got bullets for it. Come on over. So me and Billy get into my car and head on over to this guy's house. So we get to the house and immediately, like, all they want to see is this AK-47. Like, we just feel like we're so cool at the time because we have this fabled weapon in our possession. With any lack of common sense, we tell them to come to the car and look in the trunk where the gun is currently stashed. So I mentioned the guy had a bunch of friends over, and when I mean a bunch, there was like 7 people at this dude's house, and all 7 of these guys come out and we're just standing around my trunk looking at this gun, pulling it out, passing it around in the middle of a really suburban neighborhood where any old 40-year-old soccer mom could just open up her window, you know, peep through the shades and see these edgy looking teenagers passing around an AK-47. So after passing around the gun and showing it to my boys, you know, we kind of get over it and put it back in the car and go to the back and throw frisbee. Yeah, we were some weird dudes. We were throwing frisbee with a gun and a little bit of bud in the car, just looking like some straight thugs in suburbia, you know, just living in a cloud fantasy. So we're in the backyard throwing frisbee for like 30 minutes, and then out of nowhere, this Andy Griffith looking motherfucker comes around the bushes and is like, hey, who's driving that dark green Infiniti out there? And we all just kind of look around, and that dark green Infiniti was your boys. I'm like, yeah, that's me, man. What's going on? He's like, I need you to come over here. And I was like, okay. Well, it turns out this guy introduces me to himself, and he's the city constable. A constable, if you're not really familiar with a constable, don't feel bad because most people aren't. I used to live in this small town, and there would be this guy who was elected, you know, by voters to be this constable who is like sort of a cop, but not really. He can just be called to investigate circumstances and sort of get the police involved. So he pulls me over and he's like, okay, so, is there anything in that trunk that you need to tell me about? Being a 17-year-old kid trying to live that super thuggin' high clout lifestyle, but on the inside, I was just a complete bitch nerd. I was like, yeah, there's a semi-automatic AK-47 in the trunk. And he was like, okay, all right, that's cool. Is there anything else in the car that I need to know about? And now at this point, I'm thinking, what is he trying to get at here? At the time, I had like a little gram of bud in the car. As he's asking me this, is there anything in the car? I'm like, oh shit, I definitely just left that like in my driver's side door, you know, little console thing where he could easily see it. I'm a complete bitch. I'm like, yes, there's a small amount of weed in the car. So at this point, he's pulling out the gun, checking it out, and this guy's kind of redneck. He's like, oh hell yeah, I'd like to take this out and shoot it. And he gets my bud and looks at it and he's like, yep, looks like you got a little bit of that herb here, boy. I'm gonna get the cops down here, and man, you really fucked up. Now at this point, my buddy Billy kind of speaks up and admits that he was the one that purchased the gun and I just had it in my car by proxy, which was super homie by Billy. So the cops show up and are kind of checking out the gun, like, you know, running the tags on it because guns are sort of given the serial number in a way to sort of like track down if a gun has been stolen. Well, it turns out Billy had bought this gun for like $100 from this sketchy ass dude at a nearby town, and the gun was stolen. So this is like a bigger deal than it really would have been if the gun was, you know, in possession of somebody, because it's not actually legal to own a modded semi-automatic AK-47, believe it or not. But since it was stolen, it opened up a whole nother can of worms, and these cops were talking about, y'all are going to downtown to jail. Now keep in mind I'm 17 at the time, and so is my friend Billy, so really the stakes, the highest thing that could have happened is we'd get put in juvie or something, or, you know, catch some juvenile charge. We wouldn't get locked up. So as the cops put me and Billy in the back seat, and we're just looking at each other like, dude, we just got busted so hard, we're fucked, we're gonna get in so much trouble. And as we're freaking out in handcuffs, the cop knocks on the window and is like, hey, do you have a parent? You know, do you have a parent? Can you call your mom or dad and get them down here? Because if you can get your mom or dad down here, I might let you off the hook. But I don't know about your buddy Billy there. So I call my mom, and lo and behold, she answers and is just so pissed at me, but shows up regardless. Now with my mom here showing up, it made it a lot better for me. Since Billy was the super homie admitted that it belonged to him, I was just kind of like freed from having the bud and also being in possession of the stolen weapon. Like, I got off scot-free. I was able to get into my mom's car and drive home without any sort of legal consequence. Now, Billy, on the other hand, actually had to go to a couple investigative questionings, but he never ended up getting locked up or anything like that. It just really got swept under the rug. Now, just because I evaded the legal consequences doesn't mean I evaded the parental consequences. I've never seen my mother more enraged than I have at this time in my life, and I will never forget this fucking moment where she got me home and fucking unscrewed the door hinges from my room and told me, "You're not fucking hiding anything anymore." I was grounded for like 3 months, couldn't hang out with anybody. It was straight to school, come home, and that's it. And with this time that I had to meditate, it was sort of like an eye-awakening moment. Like, I sat back and realized the stuff that I'd been doing in that past year was leading me to a pathway of nothing but complete degeneracy. And the reason why this story sort of ties into why I don't smoke, I've smoked since that time, but ever since that time, it's just sort of fucked me up every time I smoke. Like, I just think back to that moment of how disappointed my mom and dad were at me, and it just puts me in a bad headspace. So I just choose not to do it anymore. I don't have anything wrong with people smoking, man. It's legal in like 4 states at this point. It needs to be legal in Tennessee. That shit is a medical miracle. But yeah, that's kind of the story or explanation of why I don't smoke. This has been a personal, anecdotal, wavy web surf tale that I hope you enjoy. And if you guys want to hear more stories from my personal life, hell, I'd be happy to share them. But tell me what you think about this video in the comment section. Have a good 420, man. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at @wavywebsurf, and if you want to have a chance to get comment of the day in the next video, make sure you leave a comment below. Hey, and join the Discord. We're having some great conversations in there. And if you want to be super homie, donate to me on Patreon. Peace.